This is Dagon from Inquisition, and you are listening to Perkūno, namai.
Sveiki gyvi, čia Mandas iš Perkūno namų. Esu Velnio akmens festivalyje ir kalbinu vieną iš stipriausių black metal grupių iš JAV, Inquisition. Hello.
Greetings, how are you doing?
Great. Okay. So, thank you for sparing some time to spend with us before the show. So, first of all, welcome back to Lithuania. Perhaps you remember the first Devilstone festival that you played in, and what are the impressions?
Well, absolutely. That I believe that was 2011. The obvious thing that I noticed right away when we drove in today, when we flew in, was the amount of people. This is growing.
Yes.
So it's equally professional. Nothing's been compromised. Great band lineup for this one. But the amount of people really stood out to me.
So the festival is growing in your eyes.
Absolutely, it has. Yes.
Going to the band, if we could just take some time to learn more about the origins of the band, because from what I know, the band started in Colombia but then moved to the USA. Why? And is there a difference in being a musician in South America and North America?
Okay, yeah, I'll make that answer. I'll try and simplify it. It's kind of a personal answer. Half of my family is from Colombia, is from South America, and I was born in the U.S. My father's American, but when I was about 11 years old, my mother wanted to move back to South America, and me being the youngest of the three brothers, I had to go with her and adapt, live down there. And when I was 11, went to school, learned the language. It was pretty cool, got to meet my family, and probably about 2 years later, believe it or not, at the age of 13, I met some metalheads down there who were like 16, 17 years old, and at school they had their tape recorder with them, and during a break they were listening to music, and I asked them what they were listening to, and it was Black Sabbath, but it was Black Sabbath with Dio. They were listening to the Live Evil concert, and they said, hey, I can hook you up with more stuff if you want, and it grew from there. Eventually one of my friends said, hey, let's start a band, and we started a band. No demos, no nothing. Learned the guitar, and about a few years later, by 1988, when I was 16 years old, I wanted to start my very first band. And so my best friend, his name was John, he was a drummer. We started a band called Guillotine that lasted for about a year. And that band ended, and I started a new band in 1989 called Inquisition. The philosophy behind it was really just musical. It was, I wanted to take my favorite moments of Sodom and my favorite moments of Creator and mix those two and make some killer aggressive thrash metal.
So German thrash was an influence to you?
Yeah, I was really into Endless Pain and Obsessed by Cruelty. And so those two albums were a big influence on me. If you fast forward years later, by the early 90s, me still being, a thrasher and just loving the thrash bands, I never really got into the death metal genre when it started to become popular, around 90, 91. But I discovered Master's Hammer, Early Immortal, things like that by 92. By 93, when I heard Pure Holocaust from Immortal, that did it. And I said, and then, Mayhem, Root, all these things. And I thought, I want to evolve Inquisition into this. And instead of ending the band, I simply recorded a third demo under those influences. The other band members were not too interested in that style. However, he loaned me his drum skills and did drums on the third demo, Incense of Rest, which was recorded in '94. And that, you could say, is really the first black metal release. That's where Inquisition, as we know it today, started in '94 with that demo. By '96, I kind of got fed up with living down there, and it was time for me to move back due to personal reasons. Get a job, just get ahead in life, and move back to where my other family was in Seattle, and continue the band, not change the name, look for a drummer, and I found the drummer, and that's Incubus. And from there on, it's Inquisition as we know it today since 1996. the differences between South America and here obviously is financial. I mean, just finding even the cheapest guitar was a problem back in the 80s when I was a teenager, and I treated it like it was a guitar that cost me thousands of dollars, when in fact it was just, you know, the equivalent of a few dollars here and there to get that guitar. It taught me to really appreciate my instrument and appreciate what I had, and it was a huge challenge for a musician to have good gear, good equipment. Also the passion. Yes, you could say anybody who likes something a lot has passion, right? But, you know, I'm not going to lie about it. People down there have some of the highest levels of passion for metal in general than I've ever seen anywhere in the world. It's a different style. I'm not saying they have it more literally than anybody else, but the way they exteriorize, they're very emotional people, very passionate, and it's mostly in the live at the shows where you can see it, and the dedication and the level of extremeness from the old Colombian black metal bands like Parabellum, Reencarnacion. They were never trying to fit into a certain sound or genre. They were just inventing their own sound from the heart, you know, and they really, in my opinion, South America has contributed to somewhat some of the foundations of black metal. Even if you don't hear it in any of the music today, you know, we all know, you read the old Euronymous interviews, you hear him talking about the old Sarcophago and Parabellum and stuff like that. So that's it. That's kind of in a summary.
So, what is it about black metal that tops thrash metal to you? Is it the sound, the philosophy, the image, the atmosphere?
It has a very spiritual side to it, a very mystical side, a very occult side, and you know, it was a huge leap, a huge jump for me to hear, you know, thrash at the most had lyrics about violence, about war, maybe some social things, and then to go from that to reading lyrics about, you know, the forests and the gods of the stars and the cosmos and people's ancient pagan cultures and their folk, and just a really strong, opinionated genre of metal that dealt with topics that were either usually prohibited in other genres, not accepted, all the way to things that were just simply taken very serious when it came to paganism in general, and Satanism as we know it. And it was, yeah, you could say it was something that had already been done in the 80s, but it was never done in the style that you know, bands like Emperor or Burzum, or, you know, the classic Norwegian bands as we know it, took it to a level we had never seen before. It was almost as if this fantasy land, this realm of make-believe, was now becoming real through this music. And that's what made black metal in the 90s so amazing to me, around 92, is that I thought, man, I actually feel these lyrics. I actually, just to paraphrase, I could almost, you know, walk out into the woods at night with my old tape player and listen to these old black metal demos and see the things in the forest that these lyrics were describing. It was, they made this, as I said, the world of fantasy a reality.
do you see yourself as a spiritual person, and what does spirituality mean to you?
I'm extremely spiritual, and I need to be. I think I should, and I think everybody to a certain extent should. Even if you're an atheist, maybe kind of box up your atheism a little bit and just open the mind and think, question things. Sure. Well, it's that. It's spirituality to me is basically opening all the doors, opening kind of what when you hear people that have taken, for example, hallucinogenics, they'll later describe to you that it opened doors, it opened windows that they had not seen before. I was describing this to somebody yesterday in an interview. I've never done hallucinogenics or anything like that, but it's a good parallel.
Yes.
When we hear this a lot, the cliche of open the mind, have an open mind. Well, have an open mind is a whole different thing to me. Have an open mind is simply, in my opinion, just be willing to actually listen to somebody, what they have to say, and see things from their perspective. But spirituality to me is opening the mind so you can see things from the perspective of nature itself. And nature is much, much more than the birds, bees, and the trees, and the mountains, and the lakes, and the oceans. And it's this is why cosmology has become such a huge part of Inquisition, because this whole macrocosm that we have around us is almost a mind itself that we need to discover. And when you get into the science aspect of it, as cold as that sounds, when we talk science, that in itself is almost something spiritual that can produce also evidence through a scientific method. So I think science and spirituality are opposites on one end, but also very similar in another. In fact, cosmology, science has explained ancient Hindu theories, Kabbalistic theories, old ancient pagan beliefs that our ancestors of all cultures have had related to the cosmos, like the Aztecs, and on and on. You know, about the multiverse and the multiple dimensions and of existence and the mind. And by having an open mind and being spiritual, you can discover these things. You'll never prove anything to yourself, but as an artist, it can really inspire and influence what you're creating to create this dreamy, surreal-like effect in your music because of the spirituality.
What in cosmology do you find the most attractive, and is it related to, let's say, our life being a part of cosmos, our little Earth being a part of this huge place, or is it space in general, like the whole cold, lifeless space that we cannot even begin to imagine that surrounds us?
That's a very good question, and you almost answered it. You almost produced my answer in the question, because it's everything. It's but the most important part of the question to me is, you know, the importance of it to me. What do I find most interesting? And within everything, all these laws of thermodynamics and all these quantum theories and quantum physics and mechanics, it's still, what amazes me the most still is the beginning of all.
Yes.
The beginning of all. I believe, somebody needs to correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe all religions, all philosophies have always mentioned the beginning of life, and when everything was complete darkness, and then life was produced. And of course, it's questionable, well, what did they mean by life was produced? Well, life can be, you know, anything from microbacteria to the planets themselves, or galaxies, or quasars, or anything, right? But really, that's what amazes me the most, is what we all question. Why are we here? Well, if you go further back, well, we are here because a universe was created, and created from what? Well, science is telling us more and more that, believe it or not, it is possible to create something from nothing, and that is amazing. I can't begin to tell you how amazing and mind-boggling that is. That just something. So, us human beings, we always search for answers. We want things answered. We want reasoning behind all existence of everything. And of course, religions sometimes are created also to justify our existence and the creation of something. Well, then it takes you to the next level of, let's forget religions itself and just say, use the word God. Well, then a God produced this out of darkness for some reason. Well, and then that's when you get into the possible Sumerian thing of, well, there's another universe where these beings came into this universe and created it for whatever reason. And I could begin to not make any sense at all, because it's hard to make sense of it.
Yeah, these kind of questions are still bothering astrophysicists everywhere. But when you mentioned something out of nothing, perhaps you're interested in the works of Lawrence Krauss, who...
I've heard of it. I haven't read enough, but I've heard of him. I've had people suggest it to me.
Yeah, because his book is called Universe Out of Nothing, so also a recommendation.
Okay, well, thank you.
Talking about spirituality, do you think that sometimes religion can even kill spirituality and just back away from the beginnings and trying to explain everything, and just go to another completely different route and just start a completely different goal, and that's to simply take control of their people?
Absolutely. And I think any great or big or large percentage of people of a particular faith or religion will even admit to you and tell you, oh yes, our religion has been infiltrated by, Christians might say, most of us are posers and there's too many sinners in our faith. And Buddhists will probably tell you, oh, we have too many people that are just getting into Buddhism because it's the trend, it's the cool thing to do, but they're not really spiritual. And just like some people will complain and say, people just get into black metal just because it's metal and it's beer time, but they're not spiritual enough. Yes, you'll always have that elitist group that's claiming to be the real thing, but I do side with them. I do agree that there's a small, maybe it's a minority of people that truly are spiritual with the beliefs they have. They get too distracted by practices and routines and rituals, and this is yes, of course, I'm far from anything Catholic, Christian, or any of that, but you always hear about people preaching, hey, you need to pray more, you need to pray more. Well, praying is not a Christian invention.
No, absolutely.
Right? Christian can be, praying. I'm not inventing this word. It's really a ritual with oneself and speaking with God. And in your world, God could be yourself, could be your mind. You just need to meditate, or you need to speak to that higher being that you're reaching out to. You don't know who or what it is, but you're in search for it. And through that meditative mode, you're connecting with your spiritual side, and you're relaxing, you're forgetting about the things around you, and that's a positive thing. But I think, yes, obviously religion, of course, why most of us dislike it, it's an institution, it's been institutionalized, it's a big business, they don't have to pay their taxes, everybody gets a free ride, it's a great thing, and a great thing for those who find it convenient. It's a good way to wash their hands, cleanse their soul, and when they do bad, and yeah, it's medicine. It's medicine for them. But in the long run, the biggest question is, what has it done for their mind? What has it done for their health, for their being? If it's doing something great for them, then it's working. But the institutionalized aspect of religion itself, well, there's really nothing to point out. It's a company. I mean, that's what it is. Behind a uniform, behind a dress code, behind these practices that we already know. You know, you look at right now Rome still today. You know, and the Roman Catholic Church. You know, they're struggling probably more than ever before. Right now, people are realizing, wait a minute, you know, let's question things more. And I think this generation, the 20-somethings, 20-year-olds, you know, of today, just to throw a number out there, is a generation today that I think is questioning maybe more things than ever before. Even the churches say, oh, the youth is getting away from religion. Well, of course. What is it doing? It's the spirituality, or the spiritual element has been extracted from it. And these boring old rituals that don't carry people anywhere are not working. These rituals need to be done with the self.
Lucifer, punish your enemies, O Lord of the Night. Destroy them all.
As much as I really would like to continue talking about religion and spirituality, we do have a bit of a limited time, so I would like to go back to the musical aspect. It's not very often that you see a band consisting of simply 2 members. We have seen a lot of great bands with 3 members, but 2, that's a very small number. So what are the pluses and the minuses of being in a 2-people band?
The pluses is it works. You know, the theory of minimum is maximum. I'm sure you or several people sometimes have felt a greater amount of control over yourself when you're alone, or maybe just, you know, or you're in a small team. The advantage of fewer people having great chemistry together, fewer cooks in the kitchen, means less of a mess. It may be very difficult for other people to understand, so I have to use that metaphor. But it really is nice when, you know, human beings are problematic animals. There's too much emotional baggage and problems, and metal has always had musicians full of issues, and it's just really nice to know that I only have to deal with one person, and that person only has to deal with one person. And we have great chemistry, and it works. When it's time to rehearse, you know, if I have an idea at 1 o'clock in the morning, you know, we can get together real quick, go over some ideas. It's just, there's less obstacles. There's less things in the way. The difficult part is in the small things, like traveling. We don't always have our tour manager together. We don't have crew with us at the airports when we're carrying all our merchandise and all our instruments, and something as small that people don't think about, like when they drop us off at the airport and we can't just carry in all our baggage into the airport. Well, you stay here and I'll go there, and you come back, and then security is asking, well, why are all these bags here? And then they're taking you away to thinking that the baggage is maybe loaded with a bomb, so you're being investigated because it was left somewhere. Little things like that. You have a lot of work to do. You have the same amount of work as a 5-piece, for example. Yeah, there's less instruments, but instead of those instruments, we're carrying more merchandise. And there's other advantages, of course. Traveling, the travel size, 2 people, and then you throw our tour manager into the equation. It's 3 of us. So there's way more pluses than any minus.
to cosmology, it seems that you were a huge fan of the German culture. So did you support the German soccer team in this World Championship?
You know, believe it or not, I wanted to see the cup in South America. I wanted to see it held over there. I think Germany won it and they deserved it. They were the best team. I was actually thinking Netherlands was going to get it. So what I wanted was either Argentina or Colombia get it. I wasn't really behind Brazil at all. I wanted either Argentina or Colombia or Netherlands to get it, because Netherlands has for a brief moment I thought Netherlands was the best team. They really were, the way they attack on the sides, and but Germany worked as a team. And I think everybody should look at that as a metaphor. Teamwork versus sometimes individuality is good, but the teamwork they had is a really, really good example for the world. And yes, German culture is amazing. They've contributed so much to history, like many cultures, right? But of course, there's the taboos and everything, so you have to kind of dumb down your appreciation for German cultures because of the scars they carry.
Thank you very much for your time, and I just really want to wish you a great show, and I know that I will be really looking forward to seeing you for the second time.
It was a good interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.